What is going on, you guys? This is GamingWithSal, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the new basic training Blitzkrieg that came to the game with the update that recently rolled out for World War II. Basically, I'm going to be talking about what this basic training actually does and just my overall thoughts on what I think about it being part of the game now. So, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So when it comes to the score streaks in World War II, we can all agree that it really isn't the best set of score streaks we've seen in a Call of Duty game. Granted that it might be a little bit better than something like Infinite Warfare according to some people's opinions, but it still really isn't that effective here in World War II. However, with the use of the Blitzkrieg basic training, that actually might change. So what this basic training does is that it focuses on the ideas of turning score streaks essentially into kill streaks, meaning you earn these streaks based on how many kills you get in a row, sort of like you did back in the older Call of Duties such as Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and break down what the abilities are of this basic training. So the first skill for Blitzkrieg is that, like I said, the streaks are earned by kills instead of score, and the second bonus ability is that the streaks are improved and that you can also even select a fourth streak. Now that's already beneficial enough because whenever you add a fourth streak on, you can do so much more damage. You can basically combine your streaks in a more better way, I guess. Like maybe sometimes if you're running 3 streaks and you're like, man, if I could just only have that fourth streak to complete the set of streaks that I'm going to be running, well, now you can go ahead and do that with this Blitzkrieg basic training. Now going back a little bit, like I said a few seconds ago, this basic training also improves the way your streaks perform. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and break down every single score streak and how they are changed whenever you're using the Blitzkrieg basic training. So starting off with the Molotov cocktail, if you're using the Blitzkrieg basic training, this will only require you 3 kills in a row to obtain, and essentially the buff that you're going to be getting is that you're going to get an additional cocktail. So instead of running 1 cocktail, you're going to be running 2 cocktails. Next up, the recon aircraft. This one is going to require 4 kills in a row, and basically what it's going to do, it's going to last 5 seconds longer. So not that big of a buff in a way, and you're going to see that with all of the score streaks, that whenever it comes to these quote-unquote buffs, that it's not as powerful as you think that it might be, but I guess 5 seconds could be somewhat effective in certain situations, but really not that big of a deal. Moving forward, the counter recon aircraft will cost you once again 4 kills as well, just like the recon aircraft does, and it's going to be blocking the enemy recon aircrafts for 10 more seconds. Next, the care packages are now going to be costing you 5 kills in a row, and for this streak, all you basically get to do is re-roll your own care packages if you don't like the streak that you originally got out of it. Next is the fighter pilot, and out of all of the streaks that have gotten buffs through the Blitzkrieg basic training, this is one of my favorites, and the reason why is because, well, first of all, you only need 5 kills in a row to obtain this streak, and the buff that you get is that the strafing path starts at a higher altitude and is extended. So this is great because in a way you get to come down at a very steeper angle. On top of that, you get a few more seconds to get as many more kills as you can, and not gonna lie, even I saw some differences whenever I used the Blitzkrieg basic training and the fighter pilot as well. I usually used to get maybe 2 to 3 kills max, and whenever I'm playing something like Shipment 1944, I'm now even getting up to like 4 to 5 kills. And granted, Shipment 1944 is a very small map, but at the same time, even without the basic training before on Shipment, I still only got like maybe 2 to 3 kills. So this is a really effective combination. Moving forward, the glide bomb. So this one is going to be costing you 6 kills in a row, and the buff that you're going to be getting is that it's going to have an increased turn radius and a larger blast radius. So basically you get to turn your glide bomb more easily, more fluidly is basically what I'm getting out of this, and of course getting that larger blast radius is always a plus. Next, the flamethrower is now going to cost you 7 kills in a row, and it's going to give you an additional fuel and increased movement speed. So basically you get to move faster around with this flamethrower, and that you basically get more quote ammunition in a way. Coming up next is the mortar strikes. For this one, it's going to cost you 7 kills in a row, and the buff is that you're going to be able to select a 4th targeting location and that shells will arrive sooner. Now I kind of played around with this one, and even with that 4th spot that you get to pick, it really doesn't make that much of a difference because this is one of those streaks where it doesn't really lock onto enemies. So if you call it in at a designated location and the enemy basically moved out of the way from where he was originally when you called out your map, it's not really going to make a difference. So this buff technically is a buff, but not the best one in the world. Similarly with the artillery barrage, this one is going to cost you 8 kills in a row, and the only buff that it gets is that it fires extra shells. So in a way, it kind of lasts maybe for a few seconds longer, but it really doesn't do anything different than it already did before. Moving forward, the flak guns will now cost you 9 kills in a row, and these are going to last 15 seconds longer. Now, this actually does make a big difference in my opinion, because 15 seconds is a lot when it comes to some of the smaller streaks as well. You know, if you think about it, the recon aircraft only does last for 30 seconds. So being able to use your flak guns for an extra 15 seconds, that's like taking half the lifetime away from an enemy recon aircraft. So to me, this is a pretty good choice to go with if you're ever going to use the Blitzkrieg basic training. Next, the emergency airdrop will now cost you 10 kills in a row, and just like with the original care package, you only get to reroll your own care packages. Next, the fire bombing run. This has really no difference in the way it gets called into the map. However, whenever those flames do land onto the ground, they do last much longer than they do whenever it comes to not using the Blitzkrieg basic training. So from tests and everything, it seemed like that the fire bombing run usually lasts about 10 seconds or so on the map, and if you use Blitzkrieg with this, it will last for maybe about 15 to 16 seconds on the map. So not that bad of a buff. Next is the paratroopers, and for these guys, you need 12 kills in a row to be able to earn them, and the buff that the streak will receive is that you will get a 5th paratrooper and expanded set of capabilities. And when they say expanded set of capabilities, I just think that maybe their accuracy might be a little bit better. I'm not really sure if they throw equipments or anything like that, because I haven't really tested it out with the paratroopers just yet, but nonetheless, pretty good buff for this streak. Now, finally getting into one of our higher end streaks, the carpet bombing run will now cost you 13 kills in a row, and the buff that it receives is that you will now be able to get a 4th bombing pass, and the time between those passes are now reduced. So that right there is pretty insane whenever it comes to maps like Shipment 1944 or just any kind of outdoor type of map that's very small or medium sized, because it's going to be constant bombs just being dropped onto the map. And first of all, that already gets annoying for both your team and the enemy team, but then again, it can be very useful in objective game modes such as domination, and not to mention it now feels more useful than it did before. Finally, the ball turret gunner will now cost you 15 kills in a row, and the buff that it receives is that it will fly around the map at a much slower speed, and that the turret has been improved by reducing the recoil whenever you're shooting down on enemies. This has to be the best buff that any score streak has received, because if you guys have watched my past videos, I talk about score streaks all the time in this game and how they feel super underwhelming, especially the higher end streaks. The ball turret gunner has the potential to become a very powerful streak, such as the chopper gunner from Black Ops 1, because they are two very similar streaks, but the Black Ops 1 chopper gunner is definitely much more superior than the ball turret gunner. And the main issue that I had with this ball turret gunner is, one, that it didn't last on the map for that long, and two, that the recoil from the gunner itself was too much to the point where it was so hard to just shoot down on enemies. So the fact that they tackled down both of these problems and gave those two things a buff whenever you use this basic training is fantastic. I mean, the ball turret gunner should have been like this from the very start, but at least it's better now than never. Overall, you guys, my impressions of the Blitzkrieg basic training is that it's a nice change to the way the score streaks work, and that it can be very fun to use if you guys want to go ahead and start earning these streaks through kills rather than scores. However, there are still a large amount of players out there who are kind of concerned with this basic training, especially whenever it comes to using this in game modes such as domination. The reason why they're all concerned is because what if like domination becomes a place where everybody basically just kind of camps, doesn't play the objective, and only focuses on earning their streaks? Well, that is a fair argument. However, I don't think it would be that much of a problem, seeing how whenever you're running score streaks, you can use the points whenever you're capturing flags, defending them, getting assists to earn your score streaks as well. So when you give players options on whether to earn these streaks through scores or through kills within the same game at the same exact time, it really kind of balances each other out, because there are pros and cons to both sides. So in a way, I don't think it would become that big of a problem, but we would have to see how this all plays out in the next few days. But on that note, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, you guys. What do you guys think of this new Blitzkrieg basic training? Do you think that it would be a fun basic training to use? Do you think it would still become an issue for game modes such as domination? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below if you guys would love to share them. Anyways, as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, click the bell icon so you'll never miss an upload. Follow me on my social media accounts to stay connected, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.